Hello everyone, welcome back to another position audit on the Craft of the Draft channel. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to go through the best tall forwards in the 2024 draft crop as we see them. The players we're going to discuss are Harry Armstrong, Jobe Shanahan, Jack Whitlock, Gabriel Stump, Tom Sims, Charlie Nichols, Charlie West and Kale Gan. They're the players we're going to discuss, and we're going to break them down by the following skills: their one-on-one ability, their marking, their speed, their strength, their read of the play / reading patterns, their athleticism, their work rate, their scoreboard impact, and a little bit about their ability below their knees as well. So we'll start with Harry Armstrong, who is being discussed as a top 10 prospect, arguably the best player on this list. And when I came to do the list, I think it's just how well balanced he is that really stands out. It's hard to mark him down too critically in any of these areas. If there was one little area that there's a question mark, it's probably that he doesn't work up the ground as much of some of these other players and take those marks long down the line. But certainly that athleticism, those leading patterns inside 50, and that ability to still remain relevant if the balls hit the ground all really stand out and allow his scoreboard impact to be really strong.
Yeah, well, the question that I struggled with is, because he doesn't push up, do you criticise him for that, or is he really just meant to be an inside 50 player?
Hard to know, isn't
because
it?
we do criticise other players for not having that ability. Yep. I do think he needs to develop that personally at the next level. I don't think you can ever just be a solid one position player at the next level these days. It's all based on versatility. But yeah, that marking is so impossible to shut down at times. We saw that when he's kicking 5 goals against Vic Country. Again, he's a hard player to shut down.
Yep.
Read of the play, he understands when to get himself into good position as well. So there's not a lot to mark him down for. It's a hard one. So it's really whether you see him needing to push up and make an impact that way. Sure, you can criticise him a bit for there, but if a club's wanting him to play as that key forward role, then yeah, he's not doing too much wrong. And kicked a goal after the siren against Oakwood to win it, which is a nice thing to have to your draft resume at this time of year.
Jobe Shanahan, the next one we'll talk about, probably viewed as the next best key forward in this draft. I think he's the best key forward in this draft. So the one area where I ranked Harry Armstrong down is the work rate side of things. I think, and only marginally ranked him down, mind you. I think Jobe Shanahan, we've seen that quite well. He's able to push up the ground, but he's also a really good target inside 50, can take those contested marks. He's impossible to beat one-on-one. Several opponents have commented on that. He's strong already, and his leading patterns are quite good. He's got that athleticism from his basketball background and ability below his knees as well.
Yeah, there hasn't been anything that has really stood out for Jobe in terms of weaknesses. He's always built on his game all year. He's always shown proactiveness in his game. He hasn't just stayed inside 50 and called it a day and said, I'm just going to beat you with my marking. And I think what was really impressive was this Essendon VFL stint there, 11 goals from 4 games, and the games that I did watch him in, he was terrific pushing up the ground. He was great at ground level and was able to burn off opponents. For his size, you'd think speed would be one of his weaknesses, but he was able to generate a lot of good running power and create goals and take strong marks against senior bodies. So I think in terms of one who can really impact at the next level as soon as possible, I think Jobe wouldn't take too long to get running and get himself into a consistent environment at AFL level.
Some have questioned his competitiveness, how that'll stack up at the next level, because he's obviously able to bully kids because of his size at the moment, but would he be able to do that at AFL level? But I think he has shown, like you said, at Essendon VFL, he's up to it, and playing local footy for Moama. Went up to Moama and spent some time with him. Was a pleasure to do that. He's a great kid, and check that out on our YouTube video as well as some other Bendigo and Ballarat videos if you've got the time and if you're keen. The next player we'll move on to is Jack Whitlock. He's one who's a little bit taller than those two, so he's the true key position player rather than being perhaps a little bit undersized, and really well balanced out of the group as well, like the two we've just talked about. I think he's one who perhaps strength-wise he ranks down a little bit, but you can certainly see with the frame that he's got in even pre-season this year compared to where he was coming from last year, you can see that strength is starting to come, and I think it's the perfect scope for an AFL player, and reads the play really well as well. He's still got that nimble mobility.
Yeah, he's certainly got the frame to become very strong at the next level. I think the questions I had on him at times were just his ability to be really clinical in the forward half. He knows how to get his hands on the footy. It was that finishing product I thought at times needed a little bit of work, but he's got that strength to beat opponents. His marking is strong. I think it's the general when the ball goes to ground, how clean can he be and how effective can he be in that manner. But they're very athletic kids. I think you'll see here. So Jack and Matt, for that matter, they'll go far at the next level, and they're still quite raw. So excited to see where he takes his footy.
Tom Sims is the next one that we'll talk about from the Northern Knights. He's one whose athleticism for me, I marked him down a little bit and probably didn't see as much of what he was able to do below his knees as some other players, and work rate as well. He was a bit more of a stay-at-home full forward for the Knights, where Gabriel Stump was that higher forward who got up the ground. They complemented each other really well, actually, at Coates League level. But from a one-on-one and a marking and a strength and read of play point of view, I think he understood that forwards role really well. His leading lanes were really good, and he was able to take those contested marks that you want, or at least create the soft drops for his small forwards at Northern. They had plenty of them this year.
Yeah, there's that WA game that stood out as the breakout game for him. I think he established himself as the real marking target of that team, and wherever he went, he made himself prominent, and his marking stood up. He's so tough to beat in terms of strength, and which is what I liked about his game. I enjoyed when he went out of the 450 as well. I think it showed a bit of flexibility, especially for someone of, what is he, is he 200 exactly?
199, I think.
199, so close to that anyway. But I think for his height, to show he's not just set on playing inside that deep role, I think he'll become as effective as someone like a Harry Armstrong over time. I think he's got the same. He's probably a bigger build than Harry Armstrong at the moment as well. Whether he can build a lot more, I wouldn't know. He'd know himself. But yeah, no, I do think he'll have a similar type of impact at AFL level that a Harry Armstrong would have.
And you touched on it there with his impact outside 50, but yeah, the ability to pinch it in the ruck is something that not everyone on this list has. So Jobe Shanahan showed it at times. We've seen Jack Whitlock do it a little bit. Kale Gan we'll talk about next. He's one that was able to do it, but I think that holds Tom Sims in good stead because he can be that relief ruck that, when it comes to selection, you do need that sort of player, so that certainly helps out. Kale Gan, like we say, he's one who can be that relief ruck. He played quite a lot as ruck this year in WA's under-18s competition, but the question mark, I suppose, would be whether he's tall enough to be at ruck at the next level, so that's why we've grouped him with the key forwards, and he certainly has that power, that ability to take contested marks as well. You watched a bit more of him, Nathan?
Yeah, the dig I had on him compared to other key forwards was just his mobility at ground level and what he can do besides taking contested marks. I think his ruck work was there and he's able to move around stoppage, but I just don't think inside 50 he worked as well with other forwards in terms of finding his own space and finding his own rhythm. He had those strong games against, SA where he kicked 4 goals. At the next level, I just wonder where his role sits and if he'll become as effective to make his own position. And I do think he's in consideration. I think you'd have to play him as a ruck forward hybrid, though. I don't think you could sit him permanently in forward at the next level. I think he has to have that versatility with him, but I do think he's still in good consideration. And when you compare him to these others, he's certainly not an outlier by any stretch.
Charlie Nichols, another one who will suit the way some teams at the next level play, and I think will get a chance. He's from South Australia. What do you make of his season, and how do his skills transfer to the AFL level?
Yeah, I like Charlie Nichols' games at time. I mean, in terms of a real key marking forward, he understands how to get his body in front and make himself a real asset inside forward 50. He is athletic where he's able to move quite well, and his read of the play generally, especially at Samford 18s level, he knew when his teammates were going to provide for him and let himself present for them as well. So I was pretty impressed with the way he went about it. He's quite effective when he uses the footy as well and understands when he needs to have his moment and impacts the scoreboard well.
Gabriel Stump, the next one we'll discuss. So as I said before, he was one who waxed really well with Tom Sims at the Northern Knights level. He got high up the ground and probably catapulted himself right into media discussions, certainly after that national combine performance. And that really showed his athleticism and speed, which I think people who know him know that he's got, but he probably didn't show it enough this season for what he's got. But I think looking at all of these skills, what was really clear is he's got all the tools to be a really dangerous player at the next level. His marking, although we didn't see it that much, there were some big contested marks that he took that were really impressive. He's got the speed. His strength is still developing, but it will come, and he reads the play quite well as well. And you've talked a lot about what he's able to do below his knees, and he gets high up the ground. So all of that makes for a pretty exciting package.
It does. And you summed it up really well, where I'm not sure what to add to that. In terms of, I think it was just his inability to show the key forward presence of hitting the scoreboard from things like marking and set shots. A lot of it was below his knees, which was unique compared to the other key forwards in this discussion. I almost felt like his best work came, at ground level when the ball came inside 50, how quick and sharp he was with that agility and that speed to get on the run quickly and create opportunities inside 50. I think when you build into that, the marking game, into that game at AFL level, he all of a sudden becomes a really tough player to beat at both in the air and below his knees as well. So he's exciting. He is an exciting prospect. I think his combine showed why we should get pretty excited as well.
Certainly. And then the last one to quickly touch on is Charlie West, who's generating some interest as a sort of powerful, speedy contested mark. So you rank him up really well for his pace. That's something that really sets him apart. And you've got to have that ability to mark. So that marking and one-on-one ability sort of separates him from some others, and a club might take a shot on him.
Yeah, well, he's got that height, and his follow-up is really good as well. So you've got a contested marking forward who is impactful as well when the ball goes to ground. So SA produce a lot of good tall forwards, and especially next year as well. That is something they're very, very good at. And I think if you were looking for a tall forward, I think it's pretty reliable if you go to an SA prospect that they'll produce quite well.
Very good. That's all we've got in terms of our key position player audit. Thanks for tuning into this video. Make sure you check out our other position audits on the channel that have either already been released or will be released in the coming days, and other content across our YouTube and Instagram platforms.